Hello, and thank you for joining the Tuesday edition of Journalists Hangout. I am Esther Mokwariola. Today on the program, crisis breaks out at the National Content Development Board as Minister of State Petroleum for Resources, Senator Heineken Lokpobiri, overrules Executive Secretary over staff redeployment. And later on the show, Senate suspends Abdul Ningi for 3 months over unsubstantiated claim that 2024 budget was padded to the tune of 3.7 trillion naira. I will be hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otitoju and Mojid Jamil. Journalist Hangout starts now. Well, the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Senator Heineken Lokpobiri, and the Executive Secretary of the Nigerian Content Development Board, Felix Ogbe, are currently at loggerheads over the start redeployment and other decisions in the organization. The back and forth by both government officials has led Lokpobiri to send a warning letter to Ogbe, accusing him of flouting extant rules. In the letter, Lokpobiri said no part of the act that established the board empowers the executive secretary to redeploy or appoint management staff. He argued that the management is answerable to the board led by him. But let's come to you on this. When this matter first arose, it seems to be that there is a little bit of a conflict on the roles and positions of the executive secretary and the governing council. First off, let's understand the role of the executive secretary of the NCNB. What can you tell us about this?
Honestly, when I read about what happened, I felt really disappointed in the minister. This minister has a PhD in environmental rights and all that, but he has acted like someone thoroughly ignorant of the law, civil service rules and all that. We are talking about when you call someone the chief executive officer and accounting officer of an agency of government, or even a company for that matter. You tell me that he cannot move staff. He can't move staff from one department to another. He has to take permission from you to move staff who work under him. I don't know which law he's talking about. He has to quote the law. He has to be explicit. He has to show us. Because look, what we are talking about here, the act setting up the oil and gas, the local content in our country is not radically different to, for example, the act setting up the NDDC in terms of the role of the chief executive officer. In this case, the executive secretary is the chief executive officer. And the law gives him the power of day-to-day running of that agency of government. It doesn't vest that power in the minister. The minister is simply punching above his weight. And when you punch above your weight, you get punched in the mouth. You may either go to sleep like Ungano went to sleep against Anthony Joshua. After all, Mike Tyson said the other day that everyone thinks they stand a chance until they get punched in the mouth. The minister may think that is making sense, but it is clear that, look, selfishness is what is at stake here.
Right.
You cannot, in your own role as the minister, your role is supervisory. You must not be seen to be involved in the day-to-day running of the agency of government. You can't. I've not seen anywhere that they will call someone chief executive officer who cannot transfer people. Eh? Andrew Anlon is the chief executive officer of TVC here. Who will say that he cannot transfer people? And he has exercised that power in his time here. You can't, even a head of department can move people to different units within his department. What is the minister saying? We don't want this kind of executive lawlessness. We don't want it. We need peace. The minister has done something wrong. He has to retrace his steps. Now, what are we seeing? Labor leaders. Labor leaders, I mean, within the group, within the, they too have now said, oh, we are going on strike. And Pengasan called them to say no. Because Pengasan is the umbrella body. They said, no, you can't go on strike. This is not a matter for you. You will see clearly that they are being used. They are being used to compromise the smooth running of that place. A man who had just come into a place. When did they inaugurate them the other day, Mojid?
December 13.
Less
than 3 months.
He moves into a place, he sees areas where he thinks that he should make changes. Because you are a minister. You now step out of line to say, no, look at what he did. All the people concerned, there are just 6 persons that this man transferred to. 6 persons. Ifeanyi Ukoha, currently General Manager, Finance and Accounts, moves to the position of Acting Director, Finance and Personnel Management, based in Yenagua, and reporting to the Executive Secretary. Mofe Megbele, currently Manager, Stakeholders Management, moves to the position of STA, that is Senior Technical Assistant, based in Yenagua, reporting to the Executive Secretary. Chidima Adiele, currently Manager, Human Resources Management, moves to the position of Manager of Corporate Communications, based in Yenagua. Gloria Onajero Osiebe, currently Senior Manager, Learning and Development, moves to the position of AGGM, Human Resources. Then Mildred S. Brown, currently Officer Regulatory Compliance of the Legal Services, based in Yenagua, reporting to the Director of Legal Services, shall maintain the same job and thereby relocated to Abuja office, reporting to the Director of Legal Services. Then the final person, Obina Ofili, moves to the position of advisor, reporting to the Executive Secretary, pending for the reassignment. You as minister then forwarded a mail to all the staff and said they should ignore these transfers. This is rascality, Esther. And these are the kind of things that we say we do not want to see. When the other day, EFCC, DSS went to EFCC office here in Lagos, and they were trying to do some of the nonsense that we used to see in previous administration. We came here and we said, no, Mr. President must step in. This nonsense must not happen under your watch. And the president called the two groups and warned them, stay away from that place. They were going to embarrass the government. This is what we are trying to see, we are seeing now. Especially when labor evidently compromised and now they've jumped into the fray, rather than find a way to achieve a solution. What is wrong in transferring people? What is wrong if Lopobri has a company of his own and is the CEO? Won't he transfer people? Or will he say that, no, I will not transfer people, let somebody else do the transfer for me? It is only the Executive Secretary that is a full-time member of the board. The rest of them, they can't work full-time. And you can't behave like you want to be working full-time. If you try to do that, you'll be resisted. Because this is just a needless exercise of impotent power.
MJ, from what BKO is saying, it's an executive lawlessness. But from your perspective, what are the likely implications of this, especially as it concerns Nigeria's oil and gas industry? Do you see it affecting investor confidence in this case?
Of course. You see, I become sad when I hear things like this. You have a minister who people in the industry see as a demigod. People, I mean, you should be up there because you are representing the interest of the president.
Yes.
That ministry is very key. Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Resources. very, very key ministry. There are very, very far more important things in that place.
Yes.
We expect that.
Oil theft going on.
Apart from oil theft, in December, NNPC claimed that they have completed mechanical completion of Port Harcourt refinery. Today is March 12th. No single drop of crude oil, which is the, single of diesel, which is the easiest. We have not seen from that, has been refined, from that Port Harcourt refinery. Now you are going to Nigerian Content Monitoring Development Board to cause problems there. Now, see, let me break it down. There are several agencies under the ministry where it superintends on behalf of the president. I mean, since the days of Obasanjo, that ministry is the president that assumes the role of a petroleum minister, while there will be a minister of state. It's akin to the CBN governor, Cardoso, saying that some departments, like banking supervision department, should move to Lagos. And for Wale Edun to come and say, no, it will not happen.
Because he's the coordinating.
Because I'm coordinating minister of economy. I mean, that is just...
replica of what is happening.
Is what is happening. Now, we also have agencies like PTDF under the same ministry. So it means, look, Obiri is so jobless that he now sees to the day to the, for a minister to descend so low and be writing
to the staff.
For a senior staff.
Not just he wrote to all the staff.
To all the staff, individually, a minister of petroleum resources.
There's no job to do now. No job to do.
Haba. I mean, it's...
we have issues in that ministry.
Serious issues.
The question is, he is not even the substantive minister. The president is the minister.
The president is the minister.
Did the president give him
such an
that power?
Such power to go out of the powers allocated to him by the Constitution, by the acts?
No, Julie, have you forgotten that just last week, the president, in view of things like this, signed an executive order.
Yes.
Executive order for the oil and gas sector to ease, in terms ease of doing business, that will enhance the ease of doing business. Now, the president, in his wisdom, appointed Felix Omashola Ogbe as executive secretary. That man...
He used to work at Chevron.
At Chevron. He has 2 master's degrees, one in civil engineering.
You are not an
the other. You are not an expert.
Subject matter
the president appointed this person. Go there. He's from Warri, so you can't say it's not from South. Man is from Warri. Go and look into that place. Look at the things. The same way they removed the Simbi Wabote, the former executive secretary, because of this same locality. So I think the president should, as the substantive minister in that ministry, weigh in and give a directive to Lokobiri Enikin to allow the executive secretary to function. If I were him, anybody that fails to adhere to these new postings, they should be sent packing.
Send them packing.
What kind of thing is that? And now the minister is using the chairman of the union. That one too feels like he has wings that we treat.
I learned that many of them, because of the way the minister has been made, many of them have been even writing directly to the minister.
That's very wrong.
You know, bypassing the ES.
The ES.
That's why I call what is going on lawlessness. It's executive rascality and lawlessness. We have moved beyond that point as a country. If we want to achieve a better country, some of the things of the past that people used to do and get away with it, that somebody will stand and say, look, do you not recognize me? Don't you know I am so person? Is that how to run big agencies of government? That's not the way to run them. It's not your duty to run the person permitted, given that power, to run that place on a daily basis. Is that executive secretary, not you.
And this also brings to question the election or the choice of these ministers. They might be selected based on political reasons. Do you think perhaps the president needs to rethink his choice of appointing individuals in certain positions, you know, prioritizing their capability as against political affiliations and the likes?
You will never know who will perform until you've given them a chance. Some people you think they will fail, they go there and perform. Some people, their qualification, their academic qualification will not be in sync with the ministry you send them to, and they will do well. Look at Tam David West, virologist.
Yeah.
And it's in my mind the best
so
petroleum
far
minister we've ever had.
Yeah.
The record is there. His achievements, getting Nigeria, getting OPEC to give Nigeria more quota, greater production quota. It was David West that did it. That was the apogee of Nigeria's strength as an oil-producing nation, not today that we've been overtaken by at least two countries in Africa. Even war-torn country, Libya, overtook Nigeria as oil-producing nation. So the president has given you a chance. He's not supposed to come and do the job for you. When you are given a job as an anchor, read the news, anchor programs. You don't expect the person who gave you the job to come and sit beside you and be doing it for you. It's your duty to do that job. Nobody does it for you. That's the way it should be. Lopobri exploited the fact that the board was dissolved back then and moved in and began to relate directly with staff. No minister should do that, except an idle minister. You can't be relating with the staff.
As a matter of fact, the minister is trying to bring that office to disrepute, because normally the communication should be from the permanent secretary to the executive secretary, not to the minister or to the staff. Now you see a minister
writing them directly.
The minister communicating not with general managers. You see, the hierarchy is in such agencies. You have the executive secretary, you have the general manager, then you have the directors, then you have senior managers. You now see a minister jumping above executive secretary, a GM, and the directors to communicate with senior managers. I mean, it's a thorough breach of protocol and sheer lawlessness and abuse of executive power. Normally, the executive secretary should liaise with the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Energy Resources. And the minister too, if he's transmitting a memo to the executive secretary, it should come to the permanent secretary. Now, you see a minister, because you want to wield power, writing directly, signed by him.
To the whole staff.
To all staff.
I'm saying don't disregard your posting. He's trying to create some level of lawlessness
in that place.
Right, I understand we have lawyer Jerry Udeme, and he joins us via Zoom to give his perspective on this issue we're discussing at the moment. Good to have you on the program this evening. So let's get your thoughts on the crisis happening right now in the NCDMB. What do you make of this, and how do you think it can be resolved?
Let me just add to that. The minister claimed that Section 101 of the Act claims that the executive secretary had no power to move the staff. He said, in fact, let me quote, the ES does not have the power to redeploy, appoint, or employ management staff. As a lawyer, I would like, conversant with the law, we would like you to explain to us whether indeed, as the chief executive officer, the ES did not have the power to move staff around the way he has done.
Well, thank you so much. My name is Jerry Edemeka. And I would like to just give my thoughts on this unfortunate situation. I have read some articles. I've heard a lot of rumblings going on this issue. And let me quickly say that it's one of the very unfortunate things in our styles of governance. And without any iota of doubt, without any iota of ambiguity, let me say clearly that the law, particularly Section 81, sub 2, paragraph A of the act establishing this board fuses power on one entity. The act intentionally fuses the critical functions of the Chief Executive Officer, CEO, and that of the Chief Accounting Officer of the board in one person, which is the Executive Secretary. So in other words, the Executive Secretary is both the Chief Accounting Officer of the board and the Chief Executive Officer of the board. And because he is the Chief Executive and the Chief Accounting Officer, the day-to-day, even the act says the day-to-day running of the board, the day-to-day performance, carrying out the functions of the board rests on the Chief Executive Officer. And by conventions, by practice, by usages and custom, not even to talk of the law, when a person is a Chief Executive Officer, certain rights, certain powers are vested in him. So the law, the act did not fuse the power, did not make him a Chief Executive Officer for nothing. If he's the Chief Executive Officer and he's also the Chief Accounting Officer, and he cannot reshuffle, he cannot move a staff from one position to the other so as to enhance performance, to enhance service delivery, then it would be very unfortunate. That would be a very serious misunderstanding of a function of a Chief Executive Officer. And of course, when we are talking about one of the essential elements of governance in any organization, like the board, entails an effective and prudent management of people and processes by the Chief Executive Officer for the effective performance of set functions and for service delivery. That is, how can the Chief Executive Officer manage processes and people? It entails shuffling them, moving one person to the other for more effective performance. So the Executive Secretary, as the Chief Executive Officer and the Chief Accounting Officer, by virtue of Section 81, sub 2 of the Act, has the power to reshuffle. The only power that is not directly vested in him is the power to appoint. And the reason for that is very clear, because it is a public board. It's a public board. It's a public company. So most often the job of appointing is not vested in one individual. Otherwise, the Chief Executive Officer would have appointed. I read in some papers that the minister started appointing even before the board was constituted. That is, every appointment the minister made in the absence of the board is completely illegal. The minister has no power. He doesn't even have to interfere in the day-to-day running of the affairs of that board. This is ministerial rascality. Yes. Ministerial lawlessness. Yes. How can a minister descend into the arena of the day-to-day running of the affairs of the board, which has been particularly assigned to the Chief Executive Officer, and begin to appoint people, begin to make appointments, and even went so far to reverse an ordinary act of governance, an ordinary act of reposting, reassignment, reshuffling of the duties of certain officers. This is very unfortunate, and I must say is very shameful to hear that in the 20th century, a minister that's lettered, a lettered minister will do that. Has he not read the act? That this is the Chief Executive Officer, that this is the Chief Accounting Officer, and he started appointing in his absence. I feel so sad about this. It's completely lawless. He doesn't have the power to do that.
Right. With that being said, now, what would you propose as the best way to resolve this crisis, seeing that there isn't any powers given to the minister to do what he just did right now in the agency? What is left to resolve? What can be done to resolve the situation?
Well, the situation, what I feel should be done to reverse it, because at the end of the day, crisis does not benefit any person. It is the Nigerians that will suffer, because once there is no no uniformity of mind, if there's no harmony in the board and people are fighting, the objectives set out by the act will not be fulfilled, and Nigerians will be the ones suffering. The local content, which is the essence of that board, will not be perfected. So I think what should be done is to try to promote anything that will bring harmony. And then the first step to do that is for the minister to reverse the letter which he illegally, unlawfully, brazenly dispatched to staff. He has no business dealing with staff directly. Yes. He has no business dealing with staff. The business of dealing with staff in day-to-day is that of the chief executive officer. So the minister, as a step forward to peaceful coexistence, should withdraw the letter. That illegal document that he circulated, he should be courageous enough. He should be a statesman enough to withdraw that letter, and then the two of them can work together for the peaceful productivity of that board. So I think the first step is the withdrawal of the letter. And then the chief executive officer also should try to liaise with the minister. Should try to liaise with the minister to, at least to, maybe for purposes of, for whatever it means, to consult with him and not to take directives on duties that are specifically his. But the consultation will not do him any harm. He can consult with him for the harmony. But I think just so that we can move forward, because we need peace in that board. All right, and that's a fine place to leave it. Jerry Edemeka, lawyer, we appreciate your insights on this discussion segment on Journalist Hangout. Well, let's quickly go on a very quick break. We have more discussions coming your way in just a moment. Stay with us.
The Honorable Minister of Special Duties and Intergovernmental Affairs, Right Honorable Zafania Beatrice Gisano, MFR, in accordance with the renewed Hope Agenda, cordially invites stakeholders and the public to the unveiling of the Ministry's Strategic Plan 2024-2028, date Wednesday, 13 March 2024, venue Sheikh Musair Adwa Center, Abuja, time 10 a.m. prompt, announcer Ibiene P. Roberts, OON, Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Special Duties and Intergovernmental Affairs.
Welcome back. You're still on to Journalist Hangout. Before we move on to our next issue of discussion, BKO, let's have your thoughts on the perspective shared by Mr. Udemeka. What do you make of it?
I agree absolutely with him. His views tallied with some of the views that I expressed earlier. The minister has no reason to do the things that he has done. And I think that the president needs to confront this minister with what he has done and let him realize that he has stepped out of line. It's possible to make mistakes. As I said earlier, he's not a lawyer. Yes, he has a PhD, but his PhD is in environmental matters, you know, not on legal matters. So we can excuse his ignorance and his behavior. But this sort of behavior should not be continued. There has to be a way in which ministers realize that they have no business getting involved in civil service, the way the civil service is conducted. Even a part of what created problems for Beta Edu is this sort of thing. Trying to get involved in how some of the parastatals under her ministry are being run. Stay in your lane, day your day.
You have to go colloquial.
Day your day. I mean, don't unnecessarily take a cheap shot at controversy. This is what this minister has done. He has taken a cheap shot at controversy. Now look at what I read. What Business Day. Clearly, a big voice when it comes to financial and economic matters in our country. Go and read what they had to say about this matter.
You know, as a matter of fact,
it's needless.
Since December 14, when Felix Ogbe assumed office, they have not allowed him to work at all. And you know, that board, the Nigerian Content Development Board, was set up to ensure that in 10 years, we achieve 100% Nigerian content, especially in the oil sector. We're in the 6th year of that target, and they are already at about 54%. So with this kind of interference, with this kind of prognosing, quote and unquote, from the minister, how are they going to meet that target in the next 4 years? Because this man has a 4-year mandate, and apparently,
the way of his work,
they have wasted 3 months. He has not been able to do anything. Now, he gives directives to a senior manager. A senior manager will go and write minister, and minister will now write the executive secretary that, no, I mean, for a minister to descend so low, to be communicating with all staff, I mean, it's not communicating with staff of the Ministry of Petroleum Resources. No, there's a Ministry of Petroleum Resources. This is an agency under the ministry, and you are going to communicate with all the staff. Then you should start communicating with the NUPRO, that's the former DPR.
Right.
It should be communicating with NNPC,
yes.
Communicate with
it should be doing their work for them.
It should be doing their work for them, and be ensuring that even a janitor is moved from one office to the other.
If they want to transfer a janitor, it should get in the way. So you can't move him. That cleaner, I like that cleaner. I like the way that cleaner.
There are bigger problems in the sector. The problem of oil theft every day that is happening. You have your Port Harcourt.
Can't meet our target.
The Port Harcourt refinery.
The refineries, all the refineries, not one is working.
And they said they have achieved mechanical completion since December.
That one Nigerians will chop. They want to see
crude oil. Want to see petrol.
Petrol
want to see petrol and diesel and aviation fuel. And we are there writing memo to
all staff.
So there should be other concerns that
even we have smaller units to manage.
Right.
We still deal with
we delegate
our direct
forces
instead of dealing directly with
internal matters.
I mean, this is
minister.
It's a low one.
Yeah,
Indeed, you should know it.
Yeah, indeed, like I was saying,
this is a minister that should be interested in the dispensation of justice. Right. When he was cheated over the Bayelsa governorship election, he made the world realize that he was cheated. And some of us condemned the conduct of the primaries back then. Now, somebody that we defended in those days, we are seeing him going against the extant law
of the civil service
and descending into a ridiculous arena. I mean, it's just not right.
Well, let's hope this matter gets addressed fully for the sake of the benefit of Nigerians, if I would say. Moving on to our next issue of discussions. Now, the farmers and herders crisis have raged for long in Nigeria, but the end may be near. President Bola Tinubu has expressed readiness to end the perennial farmers and herders crisis in the country. The president vowed to draw up programs that will end the crisis within 2 to 3 weeks. And he spoke during the inauguration of the mechanized agricultural project in Minna, Niger State. Mujid, from your perspective, when the president gave this assurance, if I would use that language, some would say, are you now saying you want to give land to the herders, or you want to give land to the farmers? What exactly is he proposing?
Yeah, the president was very clear in Minna yesterday. I watched him. He said, yes, we have been cohabiting with the herders, the farmers and herders for quite a long time. The one we refer to as the nomads, the cattle areas. But said it's also painful when you see cattle eating your crops. You have, as a farmer, you have labored 3 months to plant maize, probably 6 months to plant rice, and the cattle area comes and allows his herd to eat them up in a day. So the president is saying that the kind of agric mechanization that is happening in Niger is that because governors are custodians of lands, the federal government does not have land. So the president is saying that in conjunction with governors and the subnationals, of course, headed by governors, they should make land available, tagged grazing lands, where cattle and the herders could be confined into a grazing lot. And he said the federal government is willing to support such ventures. And if we have this, we have a particular farmland dedicated for cattle grazing, we won't be having this kind of issues any longer. So,
but it's a private business, so why should it be given that?
Yes, it's a private business, but you see, this is agriculture. Government must, in one way or the other, subsidize farming. I mean, those who are growing...
Cattle herders, you mean?
Yeah, cattle herders, yeah. Farming generally.
Okay.
That is like livestock farming is also part of farming. Now, those who are growing wheat, it's a private business, but there is a national program on wheat development. Those who are growing rice, there is a national program on rice development. Cassava, and so many other crops, even grains. So, government supports, government funds institutions like IITA, like Nigerian Grain Research Institute, to develop new grains that are seedlings that has hybrid that has shorter gestation period and more yield. The individuals cannot do this. So it's a way of supporting. So if government, as a way of stemming the farmer herder clashes, I mean, decides to support state governments to create grazing land. So if we have grazing lands in most of the states now, and you still find one stubborn cattle rearer, quote unquote, herder, that strays into private farms, then they could be held responsible. We know that this one is going beyond their. I think that's what the president means by saying that, yes, this thing could end in 2 or 3 weeks. Just make the lands available. The federal government does not own land. You can see the large expanse of land between Lagos and Ibadan Expressway. If we dedicate some to grains, growing of cereals or grains, and we dedicate some to cattle rearing, and even in the north too, there are so many
the Kano governor
farmlands.
Created a grazing area. And I remember going there to do a documentary, Dansoshia, a place called Dansoshia. And the herders were all localized in that place. You see, what herdsmen, especially the criminals amongst them, what they don't realize is that they can cohabit with farmers in a manner that is beneficial to everybody.
To both of them.
The farmers will grow their crops, and then crop residue they can use to feed their cattle.
Yeah, cattle, yeah.
They, on their part, their cattle will generate manure.
Yeah.
Will generate manure for these farmers to use in their farms. I still believe that, look, we shouldn't even, except where it's absolutely necessary, the chemical manure or fertilizer is not as good as the
organic.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's why in some countries, some of the crops that we are prepared to export, they don't want to take them because they are not convinced that some of them are not carcinogenous and all that in terms of the way we produce them. So farmers and herdsmen, they can work together. You rub my, how do they say it?
Rub my back.
You scratch my back, I scratch yours.
Yes. Your cattle will generate manure, which I will use on my crop field. My crop residue, your cattle can eat them, because what do they? They don't really need them. Instead of setting those things ablaze, you give the cattle, they will feed on it. We have not explored this kind of symbiotic relationship, in our desire to find peace. We have to get those who believe that it is grazing in the old form or nothing. We have to get them to realize that the world has moved beyond that point. That's why our country is not even among the big producers of milk, neither are we among the big producers of meat. Because we are not embracing the
other options available.
Yes, which the modern method, we are not embracing it. Look at cattle bred in an enclosed area. Even the women who sell milk, they will generate milk from that point. The cattle that that roams from Maiduguri to Lagos cannot give you the kind of milk that the one that is
stationed in a location.
In a location will give you. You can't produce enough milk by the way that we make them suffer and all that. You know what? These things, government has to sit down. The state governors, they have to dedicate money to developing grazing areas. I saw the former governor of Zamfara do it. In fact, everything that those cattle breeders needed, including Mame market for them, sports arenas, he created. Yes. And houses, you see houses, including schools for their children. It's the same thing that Ganduje did in Dansoshia. I asked them, they said, no, we don't feel like leaving this place. Because they are not even comfortable. You know how our friends in the north, how they don't joke with the sanctity of their wives. We don't even want our wives to go out and be, selling milk. In the process, they could be attracted by sexually greedy men. But within this place,
they're able to monitor.
They're able to, and people will come in and buy milk right there because the market is there. They too don't need to stray for too long like the cattle. They will stay in that same place, produce the milk, and sell. And there's water.
Right, but you mentioned something earlier about people not able to accept or adopt or let's say...
That's the problem we have.
So how can we break that?
It will take a while to get them to realize that there are alternative means of breeding cattle. When you go to Mambila, their cattle are the biggest in Nigeria. And it's not as if they move all the way. No, it's that area.
Right.
It's a beautiful area, Mambila, probably the most beautiful part of our country. You see the lush green, the vegetation, everything. You feel that you are in a different country.
Really?
Yes. And nice. You see their cattle very big. Some of these big Nigerians, they have heads of cattle in that. Yes, the likes of Obasanjo, they have heads of cattle in that area. Because they know cattle from that area, they are usually very big. I've been there a number of times.
I hope you got yourself a few of them.
No, I'm still waiting. There was someone I spoke with who helped me to get a piece of land there.
That's nice. Maybe I'll also get a portion too from you.
No, you will only be reporting what you are doing.
Okay, let's move on to our next issue of discussion, where there is rumble in the Senate over appropriation, and the distinguished senators have wielded the big stick. Now the Senate has suspended Senator Abdul Ningi for 3 months following allegations of budget padding to the tune of 3.6 trillion naira. And this followed a motion raised by Senator Olamilekan Adiola on urgent need to address the false allegations by Senator Ningi. The session became heated when majority of the senators clamored for the suspension to be reduced from 12 to 3 months. Let's share some of the moments with you.
Let me concur to about 80% of the translation read out by Senator Yai. I think they have done a fair job, except on some issues that they could not understand. First, I have never said somebody was blinded. Secondly, I have never said the budget was targeted.
Those in support of the suspension for 3 months say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
Right, we've seen all that drama. Mujid, let me have your perspective on this, because it's not the first time we've heard of budget padding, and now we're hearing this again in this Senate. What do you make of this unfolding development?
Yeah, my takeaway will be from the point of the issue raised by the Senate leader, Senator Poyemi Bamidele. I think he puts it in the right perspective, saying that this issue of padding is not whether they are trying to expose anything. Their target is to remove Akpabio. I mean, who they think has served to their hands. And he gave a chronicle of how, even during about the last time anybody from the south of this country was Senate president was more than 40 years ago. And that the last time anybody from the southern part of the country was a Senate president was during Obasanjo. And he went further to say that only northerners have served the full term of 4 years. And he gave examples: Saraki 4 years, Lawan 4 years, and the man from Benue did 8 years. So he said, look at when, David Mark, look at when it was zoned to the southeast in quick successions. Okadigbo, Wabara, all of them, within a space of 4 years, they were removed. He said the same thing, that's what they want to do to Akpabio. Now, let's come back to the issue on the ground. You claim that budget was padded by 3.7 trillion. And the chairman of the Senate Appropriation Committee, Olamilekan Adeola, the one we call Yayi, gave a breakdown of 9 items in the exclusive list that were not, the details were not given to in the budget. And he mentioned some of them to include Fed Fund, UBEC, the National Assembly, the Judiciary, I think the police, and some other agencies. 9 of them that were not, okay, including INEC, said their budget are submitted differently, that they don't give their breakdown. But when you add all this together, it comes to 3.7 trillion. And they all agreed. Well, and this issue, you met with the Senate President on Friday when you raised this issue, and you said you appointed some consultants, quote and unquote, who gave you a wrong information, consultants who don't understand the workings of the National Assembly. And he said,
and he paid them 3 million.
Paid the consultants 3 million to get yourself embarrassed like this, get yourself suspended for 3 months. Now your constituency in Bauchi, they have lost representation for the next 3 months. In fact, the Akpabio was even mild. Somebody suggested 12 months. They now begged for 6 before. So the Senate chamber is a serious place. I mean, when people like this, a senator, to the extent that you said somebody forwarded something to you, you posted it on Facebook as a senator, when all of you agreed that there should be no press conference on this, and this issue will be resolved.
He didn't wait. He was granting interviews up and down.
He was granting interviews up and down there. BBC also service.
BKO, this might be likely seen as political from the perspective by Mujib, but what do you make of this, and how do you see this affecting, or let me put it this way, some are saying that perhaps this matter should be investigated. Perhaps there might be an element of truth. What do you make of all of this that has just unfolded?
What do you want to investigate? The matter has been put to rest. The person who brought the allegation, with his own mouth, he said he did not say there was budget padding. Yeah. What are you investigating? Because what riled people was the talk of budget
Padding.
and all that. And he said he never said so. Does that not show clearly to you that he has no case? If you cannot prove budget padding, if you are saying you didn't talk about budget padding, so what are the issues that you are contending against? I saw where he said, oh, some constituencies, got as much as 120 billion, that in his own senatorial district he got 3 billion. That is the thing that is paining him.
Yeah, that's it.
He said some got 50 billion, some got 10 billion. So it's not even really an issue of budget padding. It's about, in his view, inequitable distribution
of resources,
of projects and all that. So this didn't start today. And senatorial zones, by size, are never the same.
They're never the same.
They're never the same. You look at the senatorial zone in Lagos, for example, by size. Lagos is the smallest state in our country. You want to compare their senatorial zone to Kano Central? Is there any senatorial zone in Lagos that you can compare to Kano Central? Kano Central will give you the votes that an entire state can give you.
Yeah.
More than 400,000 guaranteed votes. Any election. Even when Senator Shekarau did not stand for election, 400,000 votes still went. It didn't start because it was too late to remove his name and all that. It was not on the ballot. 400,000 votes still went to a non-existent candidate.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying it is right to give so much, but I know that they are not, by nature, they are not even the same. If there's a big project in a particular senatorial zone, you will expect that they will appropriate a lot more money there. So this is what we are seeing. But unfortunately for him, even fellow senators from the north, they disowned him with alacrity. They didn't waste time. Since yesterday, they
the Sokoto State governor, former Sokoto governor, Tambuwa, disowned him.
And they are the same party. You know, because some of what he was saying, what was reported, he said, oh, this is against the North. Why are some politicians bent on setting Nigerians against one another along religious and ethnic lines? What is the meaning of this?
The same issue they raised when the CBN was moving.
I'm disappointed in Ningi because Abdul Ningi, I've known Abdul Ningi since around year 2000, 2001. He's one of the most experienced in that Senate. He may not have been there in the Senate for that long, but he always finds a way to come back.
He's a ranking senator.
He's a very senior senator, a leader in his own right.
In fact, he's the chairman of the Northern Senators.
And then you just go and embarrass yourself. You are now saying to everyone that you did not say there was a pardon. Oh, you did not accuse Akpabio. If there are issues among Nigerians want good governance, if there are issues that they need to resolve, they should resolve it among them. I heard Jarigbe too, complaining about money that some people got.
500 million.
See, at the end of the day, this Senate, they will have no honor if they don't sit down and clean up their hearts.
Right.
And Akpabio as leader has to button up his sleeves because Akpabio just talks the way he likes.
Yeah.
You can't turn everything to a joke.
Right.
That's it.
It needs to be spoken to.
Right.
As a leader, there is a level that's expected. The standard of the spoken word that is expected of you. And Jarigbe ought to know. If Jarigbe feels that, oh, I'm in a dirty Senate where the corruption thrives, he can resign.
Of course.
So that he will not soil himself.
Say some people got 500 million.
He said he didn't get anything.
That didn't get.
Well, look at what Ningi was saying, that you know what I earn.
Right.
Well, you are Akpabio, I don't know what you earn. I don't know all your staff. Is that
Must you know all his staff?
How can you know all his staff?
All right.
What is your business with knowing all his staff?
If we continue like this, we will not end up this show, but because of time factor, we had to end.
We have other things to do.
We have to end right now.
We are not jobless people who now prognosing into day-to-day running of.
All right. Thank you so much, gentlemen. BKO and Majid Jamu, thank you so much for your insights on these discussions we've had today. That's it on Journalist Hangout, folks. For tomorrow, join us again for another regular episodes of the program. You can watch a repeat broadcast of it tonight at 11 Join us again on Sunday from 1:30 to 3:30. And we are on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I am Esther Maparela. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.
Now we are not the hurry go like say something they pursue now.
Oga landlord, na Favor wey dey sick so.
He dey hospital with Mama Favor.
Favor get diphtheria. She dey.
Shebi you dey carry her go take immunization.
Oga landlord, because.
Abi never give her vaccination before.
But since we born Favor, we never carry am go collect immunization before.